A stroller in a supermarket. You stroll with an empty trolley, reading labels and taking in the impressive colours. It is much like being in a crossword bookstore. Your head is tilted. You mumble as you gently walk, stop, pick out a product from one of the open shelves, and read the blurb-like descriptions. A great day begins with a great start. Every bowl of Kellogg's cornflakes has toasted flakes of golden corn, sun-ripened in Indian fields. Kellogg's cornflakes is fortified with 8 essential vitamins and iron. These nutrients can help your family perform throughout the day and stay healthy. Your eyes rest on the list of ingredients and nutrients that remind you of author profiles inside book jackets. You do not know what to make of the detailed information. Whether the 100 microgram of vitamin A in every 100 gram of cereal is so significant that it should be advertised in large black bold letters on the face of a small box. But you read through anyway, hoping that it convinces you into buying or not buying either. There are many products. Ready to eat, easy to cook, good to taste, simple to store, on displays easy within reach, and you skim through the cooking instructions, deftly written into cute little sketches or diagrams, because besides other reasons, you admire the deftness in language. For a great cup, add 1 teaspoon of Nescafe. Add sugar to taste. Add hot, not boiling water. Milk. Always use a dry spoon. Store in a cool, dry and hygienic place. Chuckling, the coffee jar you place back and drop in some loose sachets instead. There are no cool, dry and hygienic places in your small kitchen. Your small kitchen is a breeding ground of reptiles, a dumping zone of utensils that are washed on a need-to-use basis. Locked door. I closed my eyes. There it was, the cold, shiny brass door. I could almost feel the cold metal, imagine the ornate carvings, and smell the fresh pine wood. Through this door was not real. I knew what it was. It was the ruthless item that had been placed between the world and my mind, keeping everything I wanted to tell people locked up. The sadness that had caused many years of crying stayed bolted away behind those sharp metal locks. Memories that I had the key to. Memories I vowed never to let out again. Starting school after 4 years of mourning wasn't easy. At 16 years of age, no one wants to be friends with a depressed-looking new boy. Some tried to knock on my door, asking me politely. I knew they didn't really want to. The doors remained locked. Others were actually interested. Questions flew to me, as fast as a bolt of lightning comes during a large storm. I could have made friends, lied about the past, become a new person, but the door was there, inside my mind. It called to me, ordered me to stay locked in its evil realm. I tried to escape, but it was too dangerous. When the door to your mind is locked, people may try to get in. But as they see its danger, feel its creative patterns, as confusing as what lies behind, as they smell the rot that will follow, they leave, not even bothering to knock. I sat alone, picking at my cheap but affordable lunch. The cheese was at least a month old, green spots poking out of the sides, and tasting as bad as ice cream on a rainy day. Being so absorbed by my lunch, I did not notice the girl who looked the complete opposite of me, so pretty, happy, and in control, in front of me. I stared for a second and waited for her to tease, make a joke, and call her cool friends over. But she didn't. The girl's skin resembled the texture of a smooth beach rock, eyes sparkling like stars, just smiled. I glanced down, frozen from shock of actually being acknowledged by another teenager. Suddenly I knew I should probably acknowledge her, but she was gone, just as fast as she had come. Never since I had been bullied in year 7, tortured because of my family's lack of money and parents not having jobs, heard the wicked laughs and spiteful comments about my life, had I felt this much better. Maybe it's okay to let people in. Could it be possible the intimidating dark item that kept my secrets could be beaten? That night, I trudged home and realised the bolts of the door had come loose. Pulling the rope. The hot summer sun sparkled on the water, the splash of children canoeing in the vast blue lake. Dotted puffs of creamy clouds filled the bright blue sky. "Are you going to the top?" my friends whispered, shifting discreetly over as the teacher continued talking. The smell of freshly mown grass and dirt filled my nose as I took in a deep breath. I was too scared to answer that question, and looked around at the circle of kids, all of them nervous and jumpy. As the instructor finished talking, everyone stood up slowly, all reluctant to be the first. One courageous boy volunteered, slowly approaching the colossal ride. Time gradually ran out, as red-faced children came smiling as they jumped off the ride, exclaiming how it was so awesome. Indecision filled me, as I repeated the question that I'd been asking myself the whole week: should I go to the top? "I'll go next," I hurriedly yelled before I could back out. I hugged my friends for good luck, and slowly approached the instructor that would strap me into the swing. "I'm going to the top," I mumbled, trying my hardest to sound confident as I weirdly eyed the distant top of the posts, where I would soon be. I quickly squeezed my eyes shut as I was gradually pulled up to the top, restraining myself from calling out stop. At the very top, I dramatically opened my eyes and stared in terror at the ground below, a 10-metre drop. Expectant faces stared up at me from the ground, encouraging friends smiling at me. Taking a deep breath, I stretched up my hand and pulled the rope. My body swung backwards, the sensation of free falling, the best I had ever felt. The wind whipped against my face, streamed through my hair as I screamed in exhilaration. I felt like the birds in the sky, flying in this bright blue world. My screams echoed through the whole camp, and my friends laughed, seeing me having the time of my life. I had gone to the top. The bus ride. I glanced back and forth, on my luggage on the road. In the darkness of the night, I could not see anyone or anything. The lamppost on the end of the street kept on flickering, on and off. I shuffled around on the spot. The bus was yet to be seen. Where was it? It was meant to arrive 17 minutes ago. I anxiously looked at my watch. Time was wasting. Finally, a screeching bus halted to a stop, and I boarded. Surveying the passengers, I occupied the back seats of the bus. There was a man, not much older than my grandfather, chewing his way through a loaf of bread. And there was a boy. His face was hidden under his hood and covered by dark glasses. How strange. My eyes kept on flickering at the boy. Why was he dressed like that? My mind was replete with delusional theories. He was running away from his family. He had a bad sense of style. He robbed a bank. He was undercover. He was a villain shielding away from the hero. When the bus stopped once again, a group of boys staggered through the doors. They were loud and violent, pushing and shoving each other for no reason. Suddenly, the old man's loaf was knocked out of his arm's reach. "What are you going to do about it?" sneered the toyless boy. "Please stop it. I did nothing wrong," stuttered the old man. "La la, nothing wrong, nothing wrong. You're sitting in my seat." "Get out," screamed the boy. He was obviously picking a fight. There were many seats available, yet he had chosen to disturb the frail man. I slowly advanced on the group, darting my eyes around everyone. Before I could reach them, I heard another voice. "Stop, stop! You absolutely have no right to do such a cruel thing. Pick another seat, or maybe someone your own size," exclaimed the hooded boy. Then abruptly, a brawl started to occur. Punches and kicks were swung around frantically. The teenage boys were cheering their mate, while the frail man scurried to the exit, hoping to stay invisible and leave unnoticed. "Stop!" I screamed. The bus screeched to a halt. While I was thrown forward, all eyes were on me. "This is ridiculous," I muttered. I quickly grabbed the hooded boy's arm and dragged him off the bus. In my peripheral vision, I also saw the old man sneaking off too. "What were you thinking, starting a fight?" I argued. "Someone had to stand up to him," he retorted. "No one likes to be judged or treated differently." "How so?" I questioned. Then he explained. He was always bullied, always judged and teased. He took off his glasses, and the most beautiful eye appeared. That was it. He was different, and no one could stop him. Then I realised I had left my luggage on the bus. The magic bins. Discarded items filled the space, overlapping compost and other debris. It was almost like a forgotten land in a natural disaster film. There were 6 hard-working mechanical forms, each a different colour and function, depending on the things that would live inside. The green one was called Glassy. He was in charge of glass for recycling. The blue one was called Papias. He was in charge of paper for recycling. Oilo was in charge of collecting the used oil bottles. The yellow one was called Plastica. She was in charge of plastic for recycling. Bacterius was in charge of used batteries. And finally there was Generalia. He was in charge of the rest of the rubbish, particularly food waste. Strange noises were often heard, and no one knew what was living there. It almost sounded like a conveyor belt in a supermarket. Whenever someone put the rubbish in the wrong place, the bins would pass it to the correct mechanical box, for they were all very good friends. That way, the rubbish was always correctly divided, so that it could be recycled properly. Every so often, the rubbish van would come along to empty them, and was always happy to see the right kind of waste going into the correct place. But after a few days, all the mechanisms on the boxes grew tired of ordering everything, as it was such hard work. They can't move around very well, as you can imagine. They remained moulded to the ground, with long grab-like arms, almost like what humans use to collect rubbish on the move. "Wouldn't it be good to explore and change location all the time?" Glassy said to Plastica. Soon Bacterius, the youngest of all the bins, began to feel sick and very upset. He spat out everything that wasn't a battery, for he was so tired he could no longer contain it. It wasn't long before Plastica began to experience the same symptoms, and spat out everything that wasn't plastic. She was soon followed by Oilo, and finally all the boxes began to toss out the rubbish that didn't belong to them. Walking past was a little boy called Declan, who was quick to realise that all the rubbish on the ground had been coughed out by the rubbish bins. So very responsibly, he went about putting each bit of rubbish into its rightful place. All the mechanical creatures were so happy that Declan had helped them, and clunked their strong metal frame in joy. The boxes couldn't move around very well, as the metal was so weighty, but they could talk to each other to pass the time. Declan was amazed at the shiny, vibrant colours of the boxes. He hadn't seen anything like this before. That afternoon, Declan went home and told his parents. He told them that these mechanical creatures looked like something out of a Transformer movie. His parents knew that lots of people don't care about the environment, but they told him, "You did a great job putting the rubbish in the right place. If everyone in the world was like you, the planet will be a better place, and nature will be grateful." Beside the lamppost. Look to your left, perhaps your right, or maybe just dead ahead. There is a lamppost. Beside it sits a girl. She sits with her head in her hands, wearing a yellow raincoat, on the cold, bitter stone road, surrounded in darkness, unable to move. She didn't dare, for the fear of becoming like the people of this cursed town was inevitable. All she could do was wait, for something, anything to happen that could save her. Time passed, but still nothing happened. She longed for the feeling of being free, but that seemed to be impossible. It was because of her naiveness that she had gotten into this mess. If only she had listened, if only she hadn't wandered off and let curiosity get the better of her, then she wouldn't be here. She would have been happy, not fearing for her life. She would still have her small, flame-like twinkle in her eyes, not cold, metallic ones. She would be accompanied by many friends and family, not alone with cursed stone people. A feeling of regret and sorrow washed over her, once more with the fear of turning just like everyone else in this cursed town. Soon, she thought, I'll get out of this cursed town. All will be well. Soon. That thought lingered but gradually began to fade as more time passed and she began to lose hope. Her body felt as cold as ice and as rigid as a stone mountain. It seemed that the only difference between her and the accursed people of this town was that she was among the living and they weren't. They were neither dead nor alive. They didn't belong to the living nor the dead. They simply didn't belong. Seconds turned into minutes. Minutes turned into hours. Hours turned to many days and nights, full of terrifying nightmares about turning into the living dead, and peaceful dreams about the euphoric moments in her life, complemented with regretful thoughts of what she had done. These things repeated over and over again. The girl sat in a daze on the cold, dark stone in fear. The lamppost beside her flickers on and off. Again. The people stare with their lifeless stone eyes at what lay before them. Everything was the same. She was sat in the same way as usual, with fear and dread circling her, her eyes still with their twinkless metallic stare, the light beside her flickering on and off. Stone people gazing at what was before them. Nothing was different until a bright light flooded the town. Then, for what felt like the first time in forever, the girl looked up. The twinkle returned to the eyes, like a candle igniting for the first time in a pitch-black room. Joyful tears fell from her eyes. Her hope had been restored. Someone had come to save her.